Coming up next, BookTV presents Afterwards, an hour-long interview program where we invite a guest host to interview the author of a new book. This week from BookExpo America in New York City, Joe Scarborough on his book The Last Best Hope, Restoring Conservatism and America's Promise. The former Republican congressman and current host of MSNBC's Morning Joe presents his thoughts on the Bush administration, the current state of the Republican Party, and the Obama presidency. Joe Scarborough discusses his book with Peggy Noonan, columnist for the Wall Street Journal.
Joe Scarborough, anchor of the morning cable news show Morning Joe on MSNBC, which you co-host with Mika Brzezinski. You are a former congressman. You represented Florida's first district, right, in the House from 1995 to 2001. You were elected in 1994, a member of that famous class that won Republican control of the House for the first time in, I think, 2 generations.
It was a very long time.
Yes, 40, 50 years. Before that, you were a practicing attorney and I think a school teacher. Mm-hmm. You're a former host of Scarborough Country. You have a radio show with Mika, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon on, I think, WABC in New York. You have a new book out called The Last Best Hope, published by Crown Books. I think it's your second book.
Mm-hmm. It is.
All right, Joe, how do you anchor a cable news show from 7 to 9, a radio show from 10 to noon, do all the prep both shows require, make speeches, appearances, help charities, see your family, be a friend, and write a book? How did you do that?
Oh, I have no idea.
You get up at 3 a.m.?
I have no. Well, you know, actually, I tell everybody I get up at 3 a.m. But since my executive producer's here listening, Chris Licht, he knows that one day last week he called me and woke me up at 5:45 a.m.
to go on the air
at 6, and his exact words were, "You coming in today?" I said, "Yeah." "What time is it?" He goes, "It's 5:45." I said, "Yeah, I think I'll be there." And so I jumped up and ran and got there. I got there on time, actually. It's a great thing about New York. At 5:50 in the morning. Yes. You can get anywhere in 5 minutes. So, but it, you know.
So you can read in quickly, as
well,
they
you
say.
Know, the great thing is, with BlackBerries, I'm reading in all day.
So you're reading in the car on the way there.
And for instance, if you say something somewhere, there's a great Peggy Noonan quote, Mika, Chris, myself, Barnacle, we will all have emailed that to each other 5 minutes after it goes on the wires. And the reason why is it's not work, it's just we love it.
So the nature of prep for a show has changed. You're not doing 2 hours of prep before the show. You're doing prep 24 hours a day with BlackBerries, twits, tweeters,
whatever you call it. And also, you know, I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and this might seem horrible to some people, but it's, if you love this stuff, it's exciting. And I'll roll over, I'll pick up the BlackBerry, I'll look and see, hey, is anything happening? What are the people that came in at midnight? What are they digging around on? I'll look at it for 2 minutes, put it down, go back to sleep. But when I wake up, I'm still, I mean, it's all sort of brewing. Yeah. Morning Joe is brewing 24 hours a day. All right. So we're ready to go when it's the top of the show.
Let's start with some facts of your life. Where were you born, educated, and raised?
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, it was a suburb of Atlanta, Doraville, which now is in the middle of the city, but back then was on the outskirts. My dad worked for Lockheed. We thought it perfectly normal for people to have paintings of C5A in their living room. We would go to Sunday school with tie tacks, and it was either missiles, planes, or Apollo rocket ships. Seriously, I need to ask my dad what he was thinking. But
was that private school or prep school? Why were you wearing a tie?
No, church. When we go to church, Sunday school on Sundays. But it really was the wonder years. It was middle America. It was the suburbs, and it was a great childhood. We moved around. We lived in Meridian when he got transferred. with Lockheed to Meridian, Mississippi. Then we moved to upstate New York for 5 or 6 years. Also loved upstate New York. And then we settled down in Florida, Pensacola, Florida, where my mom's side of the family was from. Went to public schools for most of my schooling. One of my best experiences was 1969, being the first class of an integrated school. My parents didn't send us to private schools where a lot of the white flight had gone, because 69 was the first year Mississippi schools were integrated. But it was a great experience. My first experience, because my mom said she didn't want me to go to kindergarten. She kept me out. So my first grade, it was 50% white, 50% black, in a public school that had been the African American school the year before. So it was a great experience. I finally went to private school in high school, Pensacola Catholic High School. I loved the nuns. The nuns loved me back. They let me get away with things they wouldn't let others get away with. It was great experience. And then I went to University of Alabama undergrad, and then University of Florida Law School.
All right. Phil Griffin, who is an executive producer, I think the executive producer at MSNBC, once told me that you came to him after you left Congress and you said to him of television news, "Phil, get me in the game." He said you were like a hockey player. You wanted to get on the ice, get me in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always remembered that, but I do. Why did you want to get in the game, and what is the game?
Well, I had seen what had happened with Fox News, which I thought really was something that some executive should have figured out 20 years ago. If half the country's conservative and half the country's liberal, then you should have a network that conservatives can turn on without screaming every 3 minutes, "Hey, they're biased, they're biased." So I had a lot of people after I got out of Congress saying, "Hey, are you going to Fox?" And that just didn't make any sense to me. I wanted to go to MSNBC. I wanted to help balance it out. And as you know, working at MSNBC, there, through the years, are a lot of frustrations. But it really is my view of MSNBC and broadcasting is the same view I have for politics, where I want to expand it out. I don't mind going against the grain if everybody else is left of center. I think there should be somebody right of center explaining our worldview. And the thing that I figured out at MSNBC through the years is the fact that you could sit in a room of people who all went to the same colleges, not just MSNBC, all the networks.
Yeah.
All the networks. Everybody went to the same colleges. They had the same worldviews. Their kids went to the same private schools. They all voted for the same candidate. And they'd sit there and talk, and you're sitting in the back just looking at this, going, "Oh my God," and then somebody would say something so over the top, you'd just start laughing. What I noticed was it only took one person in the room laughing for everybody else to actually stop and look and say, "What are we missing?" And what I've noticed at MSNBC, forget the prime time. I mean, they are focused, just like Fox is focused on their own group, and I understand that. That's our opinion page. But what I found through the rest of the day is that people are genuinely, I mean, these people want to be fair. They want to approach news fairly. Same thing with NBC News. So it's been exciting being a part of that process.
And bringing your own perspective, you think?
Bringing not only my own perspective, but in a lot of cases, the perspective of a vast chunk of America whose perspectives sometimes don't get into newsrooms in Manhattan. And actually getting emails from news executives during this past campaign saying, "Hey, I want you to know that news story that ran last night," without me complaining about it. "We think it was biased too, and we're constantly working to get more down the." I hear that actually from all network executives and a lot of newspapers too. So it's nice being a strange man in a strange land.
Why has Morning Joe taken off? It's gotten some wonderful reviews from the New York Times and from Time magazine. I know from my experience walking around in life that it gets a big reaction from people.